What began as a fun and campy made-for-TV spectacular over 40 years ago has grown into something much bigger than anyone could have ever imagined. Every year, only the best make it here. But in the end, only one stands alone as the world's best, the world's strongest. This year's championship stands as a crossroads for all 10 finalists. For two men, this is perhaps their last shot to make history. For the men just beginning their careers, a chance to officially ring in their era, their time. For others, a chance to finally validate their talents, abilities, and hustle. No other championship trophy in this sport will do. This is the one that matters the most. That rings particularly true for one man. Over the past 6 years, he's come ever so close. But this year, with the burden of his nickname weighing heavier than ever, he presses even harder to reach the summit. But regardless of who prevails, one truth remains. Today's championship will rightfully decide, without question, once again, who is the world's strongest man. Welcome to the 2018 Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man Final. Rizal Park in Manila, the most revered national monument in all of the Philippines, a tribute to this country's national hero, Jose Rizal, the Filipino patriot and poet whose writings inspired a revolution and still inspire today. Brent Stover alongside Aaron Taylor. We are moments away from these 10 men going after the most prestigious title in the sport of strength athletics, the world's strongest man.
Man, is this a deep and talented field of competitors. No doubt the very best that this sport has to offer, including 2 four-time champions. Lithuania's Žydrūnas Savickas looking to become the oldest man to ever win the title at age 42. From the United States, Brian Shaw, whose wife just 2 days before this year's final gave birth to their second child. And one competitor who has reached the podium the last 6 years and is looking to finally break through and hoist the trophy in Iceland's Hafþór Bjornsson. All three winners of their group competitions, but they'll have to contend with a fiercely competitive field that includes 2 other American strongmen in Robert Oberst, who dramatically earned his spot in the last qualifying event, the head-to-head winner-take-all Atlas Stone Showdown. And Martins Licis looking to emerge victorious with a victory here.
6 events to decide the champion, and it begins with an old World's Strongest Man classic, the frame carry.
And the frame carry takes place right here at Rizal Park. It's a punishing event that requires the strongmen to lift and carry an 825-pound frame down the 28-meter course. Now, the frame has to completely cross the finish line, which will test the grip strength and mental fortitude equally.
Our first 5 athletes are looking like they're ready to start the first event of the final. But first, let's take a look at our Tachi Palace Power Profiles.
Žydrūnas Savickas, Lithuania. A strong man is my life. It will be 14th most strongest man for me. It's good to see how it's growing every year. Sure, all strongmen are crazy. Me also, because to lift heavy stuff, it's not normal, I think.
Brian Shaw, United States. Coming into this year's contest, I've tried to drop my body fat and come in at a little bit lighter weight. I looked at the climate that we were going to be competing in, and it's very important not to be heavier than you need to be when you're dealing with heat and humidity. After 2017, when things don't work out the way that you envision them, you have to take a step back and analyze the situation, and that's what I did. At the end of the day, all you can really do is look in the mirror and say, look, I didn't get it done, so what do I have to do to get it done?
Mateusz Kieliszkowski, Poland. I am very happy. It's my 3rd World Strongest Man competition, and I am ready to fight. Alexandra always going to the most important competition, supporting me and screaming to be stronger, to be faster.
Martins Licis, United States.
Last year was a tough year. I got hit by like a tsunami of injuries. Every time I got one, it was like, okay, I'm done. Well, I'll just go paint and be an artist. And then I got the invite. There was no way I was going to say no, even though it went against my training principles. It's hard to say if there's a lesson I could take from it other than say no, which I'm not going to do. Not for a contest like that.
After Julius Björnsson, Iceland. It's been a long journey. Each year has been a battle. 6 podiums, 3 times third and 3 times second. So I'm looking forward to this year's World's Strongest Man, and I can definitely say I am in my best shape of my life right now.
Hafthor Julius Bjornsson from Game of Thrones. He plays the Mountain in that blockbuster show. 6 podium finishes, but seeking his first World's Strongest Man title.
How about Kiliaskovsky out of the gate like a rabbit, takes a quick peek over his left shoulder. He's well out in front.
Kiliaskovsky dominating his heat. Crossing the line in first by a wide margin. Shaw finishes in second.
And Shaw's elated because Hafthor had a nice lead on him, but his grip strength failed him and he had to drop it in the middle just now crossing the finish line. That's a costly early mistake for the Icelandic giant.
So a Hafthor third, the other 2 still out there, including Big Z. And Martins Licis as well. So Kiliaskovsky makes an early statement in the final, blowing away the field in his heat.
Yeah, he killed it, really attacking this frame right out of the gate, just like he did in the qualifier in the load and carry. He was locked in, focused, and determined, and got it done.
The next 5 athletes are heading to the start line now, where they look eager to start this first event. Let's get to know these 5 athletes in our Tachi Palace Power Profiles.
Matjaž Belšak, Slovenia. I do a lot of competition over the year, but strongman is the most important. All groups are really hard this year. We don't really have bad and good strongmen. They're just good and very good. Biggest thing is to improve. That means you train harder to push you forward.
GF Caron, Canada. I need to compete. It's like a drug for me. When you compete very often like me, stress is going down a lot. Each night I sleep like a baby, then just arrive at the event, I'm ready and I go 100%. I'm like a machine.
Johan Els, South Africa. Always been challenging myself as a kid, trying to pick up heavy stuff. First time I saw World's Strongest Man, I just thought, yeah, I'd love to do that one day. I'm in great shape, obviously a bit heavier than last year, definitely stronger. A lot of people don't actually realize the sacrifices these fellow athletes of mine and myself make. I suppose when you're at your hungriest, you'll always be the most motivated.
Konstantin Janashia, Georgia. I am feeling good. Last year, no good. This year, I am very strong. Maybe I top 3. Georgian Bull!
Robert Oberst, United States. I took about a year off, had the injury. I thought my career was over, and I was like, yes, I'm going to be a stripper for the rest of my life. Botswana 2016. After the load and carry, I was in the medical tent, and I was up for the Hercules hold. In my head, I was just like, I'm going to do this. It may sound cheesy, but I was going to baptize myself with the pain of the event. I wanted to just feel that moment. As soon as they let go of the spotter arms holding up the pillars, my mind just went blank. It was so painful. It was so immersing that I didn't have room for anything else in my head. Probably wasn't the smartest thing, but really none of this is smart. I think doing that is the reason why I'm here today.
And I think Robert Oberst is a one to watch out for. Back from injury with a vengeance and ready to prove himself here in the Philippines.
The frame carry is hard for these strong men, not because it's so heavy, but because all that weight is on those tiny handles, which put a lot of pressure on the hands. But Janashia to the halfway point, turning around before the other competitors have even gotten halfway down the course.
Incredible performance. He's got to get it all the way across, though.
You see him looking at his hands. He might be in some pain there. Brent, every second counts here.
Finally gets it across. And finally being relative, because no one else has gotten to the halfway point, and they are all stalled.
Each one of these competitors is physically and mentally tough, but you see them all looking at their hands, focusing on their grip, not necessarily the weight. But the frame carry proving to be a punishing event for some of the strongest men in the world.
Carone checks out. He's going to finish second in the heat.
Look at that.
Janashia will finish third overall in the frame carry.
Well, Brent, we talked about the pain that 825-pound frame puts on the hands, and that's certainly what prompted Janashia to drop it before he crossed the finish line. But pain wasn't a problem for Kiliashkovsky, who won the entire event.
And he's with Jenny Dell.
You just dominated that event. Why was it so important to come out so strong in the first event here in the finals?
Oh, I won because I need a lot of points now. Because next event is a deadlift. It's my worst event. Frame is my best event for every. I never lose this event.
And you did not lose just there. Now, you said that this finals is made for you. The events are made for you. Why is that?
Yes, this year event is better for me. It's more racing, walking, not like that last year, static competition.
Congratulations on a great first event.
Thank you very much.
Poland's Mateusz Kiliashkovsky starts off topping the leaderboard. Four-time champ Brian Shaw trailing closely behind. Janashia of Georgia in third, and Hafthor Julius Bjornsson of Iceland finishing the event in fourth. Up next, the second event of the final, the Jeepney Deadlift, when we return to the Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man, presented by Rogue.
The 2018 Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man on CBS Sports is sponsored by Tachi Palace Hotel and Casino in Lemoore, California. And by Rogue, leading provider of American-made strength and conditioning equipment.
The Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man final back at Rizzo Park for the second event of the final, the Jeepney Deadlift.
And here the athletes will square off two at a time, head-to-head with a vehicle weight of 850 pounds. The athletes will be asked to deadlift this, lifting it off the ground for the most reps in 60 seconds.
6 athletes have already competed. The current leader is Canada's JF Carone with 11 reps. Martins Litzis of the United States currently in second with 10 reps. And now 4 athletes remain. And that begins with Konstantin Janashia, who represents the Republic of Georgia. He's on the right, making his third trip to the World's Strongest Man final.
Hafthor Julius Bjornsson.
And on the left, Hafthor Julius Bjornsson of Iceland. His 8th World's Strongest Man final. And there's the head referee, Magnus for Magnuson, 4-time World's Strongest Man champ, and the last to come from Iceland, and that was back in '96.
Interesting storylines here early. Hafthor trying to climb out of that hole he dug himself, getting 4th place in the frame carry, but looking solid here with 3 reps, and Janashia tearing his hands apart in the impressive frame carry of his own. You wonder how that's going to affect him in this event, which requires grip strength as well.
They both need to beat 11 reps. That was the mark set by JF Carone of Canada.
And Bjornsson's 6'9", and this is an event that usually doesn't lend itself to the taller competitors, but he recently broke the world deadlift record with an elephant bar with an impressive 1,041 pounds.
Bjornsson just tied the lead set by Carone. Now Bjornsson is able to go into the lead as he locks out his 12th rep. Janashia struggling with calluses and torn up hands. You wonder how much the frame carry, the opening event, contributed to that. And now the time limit arrives, and Bjornsson into the lead while Janashia settles for 7.
His hands certainly having a negative effect on him. You can tell he was feeling it, but Hafthor, nice recovery, finished fourth in the frame carry. But those 12 reps are going to be hard for somebody else to beat. Power and strength are important, but so is good technique. And Bjornsson, entering this competition in the best shape of his life, was impressive.
Up next on the right from Poland, Mateusz Kieliszkowski. In his third World's Strongest Man final, he placed 6th back in 2017. He's the leader after one event. On the left, the four-time World's Strongest Man champ. Tied for second all-time in that department, the American Brian Shaw. And he's in second place after one event. These guys have to get more than 12 reps in order to beat Iceland's Hafthor Julius Bjornsson.
A little bit of a wider stance and tennis shoes for Shaw on the left, and a tighter base, and barefoot and socks for Kieliszkowski on the right.
Kieliszkowski made it clear to our Jenny Dell earlier that the deadlift is his least favorite event. He knows that he really struggles here.
He doesn't like the static events, but he's one of the best pullers we've seen in some time as Shaw. Repping out rep after rep on that left side, he may catch Hafthor.
Hafthor got 12. Shaw just locked out his 9th.
Shaw, an impressive deadlifter in his own right. Driving through the heels, those big quads and glutes, starting the movement. The lats locked in, that upper back, thrusting the hips forward. Does he have enough to tie Bjornsson?
Kieliszkowski called it quits after 3. The story here is Shaw to tie Bjornsson. Can he get it with the extra efforts? He did right at the end of the time limit. He ties Hafthor, each finishing with a dozen.
Give it up for Mateusz Kieliszkowski.
Mateusz Kieliszkowski of Poland, tied for 8th, only 3 reps in the deadlift. But 18, Brian Shaw put on a show.
He certainly did. He knew he had to get that 12th rep, so he dug deep. The 4-time champion, the competitor, knew what he had to do, Brent, and the heavyweight battle between the favorites we were expecting has begun.
Things really materializing. Good drama here in the Philippines. Hafthor Julius Bjornsson and Brian Shaw tie for first, each with 12. JF Caron comes in third with 11. Martins leads the United States in 4th place with 10 reps. And with that, Brian Shaw has a 2-point lead over second place with 18.5 points after 2 events. Bjornsson right behind him. Kieliszkowski, who was the leader after the frame carry, drops all the way down to 6th. When we return to the Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man presented by Rogue, the athletes will take on one of the most grueling events of the final, the max overhead. Which athlete will press their way to the top? We find out coming up next. Welcome back to Rizal Park in Manila, the beautiful capital city of the Philippines. Here, all 10 finalists take on the third event of the final, the max overhead.
This is a fun one, Brent, where the strongmen will be asked to pick a barbell up off the ground with a starting weight of 386 pounds and lift and lock it out overhead.
We begin the tale of the max overhead with a storied one, a homesick competitor and the surprise visit he received here in Manila.
I see some of the guys have their wives here. I don't have the finances to bring along my wife and the kids. Just love to share this, to see what I see. Maybe someday.
From South Africa, Miss Universe, Tony Lee Miller.
I just met Johan Els from South Africa. We were speaking Afrikaans. None of you understood anything.
The South African represent.
Johan Els.
A lot of people back home rooting for me. This is your year. You're going to do us proud. It's one of the most precious things in the world's time. You'll never become an owner of time because it just ticks off, but you can share it with someone.
There's immense pride that comes from being here. One of the strongest men on the planet.
365 days a year, we are fighting to become the best.
I don't plan on leaving here without winning.
Thor and Brian look good. If I was going to pick, I'd say Brian takes it over Thor.
The wolf that's climbing the hill is hungrier than the wolf that's on top of the hill.
He's in the later years of his career, strong and pretty, and I'm coming out swinging.
I can't let today's performance get into my head.
Injury in my arm, my overhead press very go down.
And representing Iceland, Julius Bjornsson.
It's kind of Icelandic way we do it, taking his earlobes and I'm squeezing them as hard as I can, and then I'm screaming so he'll get a little bit angry. The only thing that can stop me is an injury. After Julius puts on first place.
Bjornsson in first in the event. In the max overhead, he successfully lifts 452 pounds. Kieliashkovsky and Lietzi's tie for second. Big Z had to withdraw from the competition with an injury in his right bicep and left Achilles. Hafthor Julius Bjornsson in good standing thus far in the final, a 2.5-point lead over the rest of the field. Brian Shaw drops down to second. Lietzi's and Kieliashkovsky neck and neck in third and fourth. With Savitskis out, we are left with just 9 finalists. Up next, the athletes show their true strength and grit in an iconic strongman classic, a 62,000-pound bus pull. Stay tuned to find out who overcomes the next feat of strength on the Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man, presented by Rogue. Welcome back to the 2018 Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man final. Here at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, where the 9 remaining finalists will take on the bus pull.
Well, this event can humble even the strongest of the competitors as leg strength and conditioning are tested to the max as they pull a 62,000-pound bus down a 25-meter course.
Time limit 1 minute. A couple of guys have already gone. Brian Shaw of the United States went the distance and pulled it impressively in a time of 36.76 seconds. Then an assist from last year's World's Strongest Man champ, Eddie Hall. How about Matthias Belshak? He was able to beat Brian Shaw, the man from Slovenia, by 1/100th of a second in 36.75 seconds. So the bus pull, the first athletes have gone. Matthias Belshak, the current leader. Brian Shaw, the U.S. in second. Johan Else of South Africa in third. And 3 athletes now remain as we get back to the action. Mateusz Kieliashkovsky won the bus pull in his group in the qualifiers. This should be a good event for him. He won the plane pull in Botswana last year in the final. And he's in 4th place after 3 events.
He's an absolute beast. Great leg drive and power. Really nice technique. I watched the competitor's feet, Brent. Nice, steady motion. He's a little bit wobbly, but he's gaining steam and putting a lot of pressure on that bus. He's looking really good early so far.
The time to beat is 36.75 seconds, and that was set by Belshak of Slovenia.
Kieliashkovsky looking really good here, Brent. He might beat that time.
And he does. 35.95. So Belshak falls into second place as Kieliashkovsky just outdid him in the bus pull by a narrow margin. Nevertheless, the man from Poland goes in front.
And that also drops Brian Shaw into 3rd place, but it was that flawless technique, first with the massive arms, that continuing pressure on the rope, then those big, powerful legs, making that bus move.
Representing the United States, Martins
Up next,
Lietzi's.
from the United States, Martins Lietzi's. He placed 4th in last year's World's Strongest Man final. He was able to save some energy in the qualifiers, automatically making it through to the final after 5 events. So you wonder if that can help him in terms of that energy that he was able to conserve here in the bus pull, an event that he did not see in the qualifiers.
Power is not a problem for Lietzi's in most occasions, but he struggled a little bit throughout this competition. undoubtedly being hampered by some of those injuries, but you have to admire his strength and mental fortitude to continue on.
Kiliashkovsky put down a 35.95. Can Litzis beat that time? He's going to have to hustle. He's going to miss the time, but where will this put him? 38.95, exactly 3 seconds back of the leader. So that puts Litzis, the American, into 4th place here in the bus pool. Not too bad.
Not too bad at all things considered. And look at the look of determination and focus on his face. There's one thing you can say about Litzis. He brings everything he has every single time.
And now it's Hafthor Julius Bjornsson of Iceland leading the finalists after 3 events. Some are saying this is his year. He's had 6 podium finishes in the World's Strongest Man final with no wins.
Hafthor's looked as good as I've seen him throughout this competition. Been more focused, not doing as much TV stuff, not making as many appearances, but focusing on the sport. He's got the mass, he's got the strength. Does he have the endurance to take over this event with the final and the championship that's been elusive on the line?
He won the Arnold Strongman Classic for the first time back in March and Europe's Strongest Man in April for the 4th time. His time to beat in the bus pool is 35.95.
Powerful and compact, looking really good here.
Can he get there? Can he win the bus pull? Not quite. 1/10 of a second off. He will settle for second in the bus pull in 36.05 seconds.
Hafthor was so explosive, it almost looks like he's jogging. Those tree trunks of legs making that 62,000-pound bus seem like it was nothing. Really impressive by the Icelandic giant.
So Mateusz Kiliashkovsky of Poland wins it in a time of 35.95 seconds. Awfully impressive. Kiliashkovsky with a huge event win here. Hafthor Julius Bjornsson right behind him in second, pulling the bus in 36.05. Belshuk of Slovenia in third, just 0.01 seconds ahead of Brian Shaw, who wound up in 4th. Bjornsson remains on top with a 4.5-point lead over the rest of the finalists. The young competitor, Kiliashkovsky of Poland, tied for second with Brian Shaw. Here's Jenny Dell.
Coming up next, the loading race. With 75 seconds on the clock, our strongmen will attempt to pick up these objects and place it on a platform. But with the objects varying in weight from 230 to 330 pounds, that will be no easy feat. The athlete to complete the task in the quickest amount of time could move on to be closer to the title of the Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man. Event 5, after the break.
Welcome back to the University of the Philippines, Diliman, where the remaining athletes will take on the 5th event of the final, the loading race.
Well, Brent, we're getting all fancy this year in this traditional and classic event as the athletes must channel their inner Popeye and carry a 230-pound anchor across the line and then load 4 other cartoonish-sized objects on the platforms 10 meters away.
3 athletes have already competed. JF Caron of Canada, the current leader, completing all 5 objects in a time of 40.61. Robert Ober's second, Konstantin Janashia in third. 6 athletes remain. The South African, Johan Els, who is in 9th after 4 events.
Representing the United States, Martins Litzis.
Martins Litzis, the United States, seeking his first podium finish in his 3rd appearance. Rebecca Rowley, his girlfriend, looks on. And she's been a huge help for him here at the World's Strongest Man. They begin with the 230-pound anchor, and Johan Els blasts out of the gate into the lead as they hit the anvil, which is 275 pounds.
Litzis with a slight limp and really struggling with the 275-pound anvil. He drops it. That's going to be a very difficult piece of ground for him to make up because Els looks fantastic.
He looks awesome. 265-pound keg is up. Now to the sack, which is the heaviest object. At 330 pounds, no problem. Onto the 287-pound safe for Johan Els. Impressive from the man from South Africa. Meantime, the American Litzis finally onto this 287-pound safe, and Els comes over to help him out.
You can tell Litzis just isn't himself. 287-pound safe would be nothing for him if he were healthy. But man, you got to take your hat off and really admire the determination by the American.
still working. Else trying to help him along. The only thing he can do at this point is help him carry that thing.
And that's it. Litzes is done. He's going to give it one more shot. He's just going to run out of time.
So there's the time limit, 1:15. Rebecca Rowley with a hand for Litzes, but that was a serious battle. He was able to get 4 objects in 37-67, goes into 5th. Johan Else moves into the lead, and he needed that. He was in 9th in this final going in, and he gets 5 objects at a good time.
This is 2 events in a row now that we've really seen Litzes struggle. The heart and soul are there, so's the strength, but this sport is about durability, not just ability.
Representing Slovenia, Mateusz Belshak.
Up next from Slovenia, Mateusz Belshak. Into 5th place after 4 events.
Representing the United States,
and the American Brian Shaw, 4-time World's Strongest Man champion.
Shaw.
Currently tied for 2nd after 4 events, so he's got some work to do if he wants to get that coveted 5th title.
Now remember, Belshak bested Brian Shaw, the 4-time champion, in the bus pool. There's a good opportunity for Shaw to get some revenge here. These guys are neck and neck with the anchor.
Belshak slightly ahead after the anchor. The anvil is 275 pounds. And now Shaw into a slight lead with the anvil.
Just snatched up that 275 pounds like it was nothing.
On to the 265-pound keg. Belshak with a bit of a spurt. And now he's in front. Time to beat is 34.12. And this is the largest object, the heaviest, the sack, 330 pounds. Shaw strong into the 287-pound safe.
Shaw at 6'8" has those long arms. That's a real advantage over Belshak, who's only 6'1", but struggling to get the safe up on the platform. And you can see the frustration by the champion losing costly time.
Belshak with the safe, it's up and on in 52.56.
Give it up for Brian Shaw.
So Brian Shaw goes into 3rd, getting all 5 objects in 43.34 seconds.
Give it up for Mateusz
Belshak goes into 5th, 5 objects in 52.56.
Brent, few people on the planet can snatch up an NFL nose tackle size sack and make it look so effortless. But picking up his 5th title may not prove as easy. Brian Shaw's on shaky ground.
When we come back, the conclusion of the loading race. Will Iceland's Bjornsson maintain his lead and take one step closer to his ultimate goal? Or can Kiliashkovsky of Poland make up the difference and overtake the mountain? We find out next on the Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man, presented by Rogue. Welcome back to the Philippines, the host of the 2018 Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man Final for the continuation of their 5th event, the loading race. 7 athletes have already competed, with Johan Else of South Africa coming out as the early leader in this event, completing the course in 34.12 seconds. JF Caron in 2nd, Brian Shaw in 3rd. 2 athletes remain.
And what a 2 it is. Mateusz Kiliashkovsky, many think could be the future of this sport, and Hafthor Julius Bjornsson. That elusive chase for his first ever title within his grasp.
Representing Poland,
Kiliashkovsky of Poland, tied for 2nd after 4 events, seeking his first World's Strongest Man title, and this is 3rd World's Strongest Man appearance.
Representing Iceland,
Hafthor Julius Bjornsson of Iceland. This is his time. This is his moment. He leads after 4 events, seeking his first World's Strongest Man title in 8 appearances. He's never led after 5 events.
Bjornsson's always been a bridesmaid, never a bride. I'm interested to see what he brings here, Brent. This is always the type of moment that he's stumbled. He's found a way to not be successful, but him and Kiliashkovsky are neck and neck. What does the Icelandic giant have?
Incredible. Up with the keg. Now to the 4th object, the sack. The heaviest of the objects, 330 pounds. It's a narrow lead for the Icelandic giant. Now it's a dead heat with the safe. And Hafthor Julius Bjornsson edges him out and wins the event in 31.22. Kiliashkovsky settles for 2nd, but Hafthor with a statement. At a point in the competition, you alluded to it, where he has struggled in the past. He puts the hammer down, and Kiliashkovsky, credit him with giving the Giant everything he could handle and pushing him to that win.
And such an impressive performance by Kiliashkovsky throughout this entire competition. That was neck and neck down the stretch. His future is bright in this sport. The difference was at the very end where Hafthor makes a move for the platform and possibly the podium just a step ahead of Kiliashkovsky. Brent, this may be the moment that Hafthor's been waiting for since he started Strongman.
So Hafthor with a huge win here in the loading race. The 24-year-old from Poland, Kiliashkovsky, with an impressive second-place finish. Such a tight competition for those two guys. Johan Else coming in third. Bjornsson has got the lead after 5 events for the first time ever. He's got a 5.5-point lead, trying to become the first Icelandic World's Strongest Man champ since '96. Kiliashkovsky in second, Shaw in third. Coming up, the Atlas Stones. This head-to-head battle will determine who will ultimately be crowned the 2018 Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man. After 6 podium finishes in his last 6 World's Strongest Man appearances, will Hafthor finally break through and take home the trophy? We find out with the conclusion of the Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man next.
Strongest Man on CBS Sports is sponsored by Tachi Palace Hotel and Casino in Lemoore, California.
We're here at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, for the closing event of the final, the Atlas Stones. This is going to be the ultimate event that decides the world's strongest man.
Brent, this is the crown jewel of strength athletics, where the strongmen will lift 5 stones ranging from 330 to 460 pounds from the ground up onto platforms. Total weight is almost 2,000 pounds.
5 athletes have already competed. Johan Else of South Africa, once again the leader out of the gate. 5 stones in 41.44. JF Caron right behind him. 4 athletes remaining. The American Martins Licis is in 4th place after 5 events, seeking his first World's Strongest Man podium in 3 appearances. Brian Shaw, another American, in 3rd place after 5 events. He's got 4 World's Strongest Man titles.
And it's unlikely it'll be a 5th at this year's competition. Now, the Atlas Stones typically is one of Brian Shaw's favorite events. But 4 weeks before this year's competition, he injured his foot practicing for the bus pull. And that's an injury that usually takes about 12 weeks to heal. He only had 4, so Shaw giving it his all, but playing in some pain.
He doesn't have to do much here to be able to solidify his 3rd place finish and finish on the podium. Licis is pretty well locked into 4th place, so he's putting on a show here to finish out. Both men, what a job they've done here in 2018 in Manila. 2 Americans squaring off, giving it their all. Brian Shaw to the final stone. Licis unable to get the final stone up. And he's going to give it one more go with 10 seconds remaining.
This is very unusual for these 2 competitors. This is usually an event that they both attack, but both wave the flag after the 4th stone.
So Shaw gets 4 stones in 39.11, which puts him in 4th in this event. Licis goes into 2nd in this event because he got 4 stones in 24.97.
Great effort by Licis, but this 5th and final stone really indicative of the entire competition, with the American just coming up short. And for Brian Shaw, the savvy veteran knows when to say when. He's had enough and doesn't want to risk further injury.
Time for the final pairing.
Mateusz Kiliashkovsky.
Mateusz Kiliashkovsky of Poland, the youngest athlete at 24. And Hafthor Julius Bjornsson.
Iceland.
He has essentially wrapped up his first ever World's Strongest Man title. Just needs to avoid disaster, but for all intents and purposes, in front of his father, family, and friends, this is a victory lap, and one that is much deserved and a long time coming for one of the best ever to do this.
You saw the emotion after the loading race. How much has gone into this? Hafthor entered this competition in the best shape of his life. More humbled, more focused, less of a showman, and more like a champion. And this is the moment, Brent, that he's been waiting for. The final seconds tick away on the iconic event of Strongman, and Hafthor virtually assured to be crowned the champion.
Kieliszkowski has caught up with him on the fourth stone. And there it is, putting on a show at this point. It is Hafthor Julius Bjornsson, and he's just going to take it all in here. He and Kieliszkowski say, what the heck, let's give it a try on the final stone, 460 pounds. And Hafthor Julius Bjornsson with the icing on the cake, his first ever World's Strongest Man title at long last. He is at the top of the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new champion for the 2018 Tachi Palace World's Strongest Man, representing Iceland, Hafthor Julius Bjornsson.
We wondered, Aaron, if he would ever finally break through and finish on top. And we get the answer here in 2018.
When it mattered most, in the moments where it was closest, Hafthor dug deep and found what it took to unleash his inner champion.
And here he is with Jenny Dell.
Thor, it's your 8th year at World's Strongest Man. This is your 7th time on the podium, but your first time on top. How does it feel to finally have your moment?
Oh, it feels amazing, you know. It's been a long journey. You know, standing on top right now, it's, I have no words. I'm so pleased, so thankful.
You're the first Icelandic athlete to win this since 1996. That was Magnus for Magnusson. What does it mean to you to bring this home, not only to your friends, your family, everyone here supporting you, but to Iceland?
It means the world to me. This victory is for all my family, friends, and fans around the world, and especially my daughter Tesli, which is 9 years old. She's always here with me. I travel a lot around the world, and Tesli, I love you. This is for you.
Hafthor Julius Bjornsson finally takes the title home back to Iceland. Poland's Mateusz Kieliszkowski with an impressive second-place finish. Brian Shaw, the 4-time World's Strongest Man, still on the podium in third. For Aaron Taylor, Jenny Dell, and our entire CBS crew, I'm Brent Stover. In association with IMG Original Content, this has been a presentation of CBS Sports. And before we say goodbye, a retrospective look at this year's competition, its new champion, and the great team that supported him throughout.
I have the best family in the world. It's all about. We're all trying to support and help him.
Everyone wishes for his success. Everyone loves him.
The title hasn't come to Iceland since I did it the last time.
In third place, Brian Shaw.
And I've been expecting this for a couple of years now. Being 6 times on the podium. He's had this title within a grasp so many times. He's been able to taste it. I had thoughts in my head that we're never going to be successful.
In second place, Mateusz Kieliszkowski.
Am I always going to fail?
On behalf of the Tachi Palace Hotel and Casino, it is my distinct honor to award this first place trophy to Hafthor Julius Bjornsson for the first place finish in the 2018 World's Strongest Man competition.
I'm on the top of the podium. The title is finally back home, where it belongs. I don't believe there's anyone on this planet as dedicated as Thor. I push myself so hard. I've cried so many times before I go to bed, thinking if I risk my day. I did everything in my power to become the best. Finally, I made it.